What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Trout Wrangler Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Garrity. That right there is our show's vibes curator. You know him as Mr. Maverick, Ricky, Finn. We got a really cool episode coming today. You've probably definitely used this app if you freshwater fly fish, even saltwater fly fish in general. You've definitely used this app. Um, Before we get into the episode, I want to thank my partners with this podcast that helped make this possible. Bahio Sunglasses, Afueta Coffee, Free Fly Apparel, um, Temple Fork Outfitters, Loon Outdoors, and I think I already said Bahio, but also Yeti Coolers. But our episode today, we got Mr. Erik Johnsen from Trout Routes coming on the podcast to talk all about the app, give you guys some awesome features that are coming, some awesome features that are already on the platform, and honestly, just talk fly fishing. In the show notes of this podcast, I will have a link for a free month of Trout Routes Pro. Give you guys a little glimpse of what you can get if you do decide to use Trout Routes Pro. It has helped me out a ton. It has helped a lot of fly fishermen out a ton. It has helped. Erik talks about it a lot. I talk about it a lot on this show. But check out the show notes. Check out my bio in my link tree in the bio. There should be the link to go on there, sign up, get you a month free. But until then, up next is our interview with Erik Johnsen. What's up, guys? Like I said in the intro, we do have an interview today. I'll kick it over to let you introduce yourself a little bit, Erik.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate having me on today. My name's Erik Johnsen. I'm the community marketing manager for Trout Routes, which is part of the OnX suite of mapping products. And I've been with the company since we were still a small startup up in the Twin Cities back in 2022. But it's been a really exciting run for us here, both as being kind of that scrappy startup team to now being part of the larger OnX Maps organization. So looking forward to chatting a bit about that with you today and just kind of digging into some fly fishing and trout fishing stuff as we kind of kick it off here.
Yeah, man. So, like, the first question I always ask everyone is, where and when did your fishing journey start, and like, when did that transition to a fly rod come about?
Yeah, absolutely. Like most upper Midwestern folks, I didn't get into fly fishing until quite a bit later. I actually, as a kid, would head out to the local pond with my dad and brother and sister every now and then, and we would just catch panfish, at the end of the dock. It was
Yeah.
pretty standard fare. I think when I was real little, I'm trying to remember the name or the character that the rod was, but I'm sure you've seen like those little Zebco like
Oh yeah,
character
Zebco
rods.
33s.
And so I absolutely had one of those. I remember like casting that like rubber stopper thing in the backyard just to kind of get used to it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of took off from there. I spent a little bit of time, fishing with some family on some bigger water as I got older. Took a couple of trips up, to like the Boundary Waters and stuff, and had a chance to experience that amazing part of the country. But it was really, just a summertime pastime. I wasn't particularly die hard. I didn't really chase a lot of fish after high school. And it honestly wasn't until a bit later in life that I started coming out to the driftless part of Wisconsin and realized the amazing trout fishery that it was. And at that time, I had never touched a fly rod. I knew nothing about it. But my wife, girlfriend at the time, I knew that her dad was a big fly angler back in his day. And so I thought, I know I'm going to be coming out here. I think this is like going to be a real thing. And so I picked up a fly rod with the intent of using it as a vehicle to connect with who I expected. And it ultimately became my father-in-law. It was funny because at the time, my in-laws were kind of rehabbing this farm property, and that's really what was drawing us out here.
Okay.
Every couple of months. But they were so busy with farm chores and projects that he was always tied up with other things. And so I honestly spent the first couple of years figuring a lot of that stuff out solo and struggling through getting hung up on, willow branches on my back cast and probably tying the wrong flies on and losing flies to rocks and bad hook sets and, the whole 9 yards. I mean, if you could do something wrong in fly fishing, I probably did it. And it took me a fair bit to really figure some of that stuff out. But I will say eventually that all did come full circle, and I was out here for a maple sap season of all things, and that particular season was really warm. The sap wasn't really running, and so I knew I had my father-in-law kind of locked in. That was his big kind of March project, and I was out here to help him out with that. And so sap wasn't running. I knew he didn't have anything else planned, and so I said, "All right, Tom, we're getting on the stream and we're going to go chase some trout." And so I sort of dragged him along with me, threw a fly rod in his hands and pointed him to a corner of this stretch of water that I knew there would be some fish. And sure enough, he landed a couple of nice brown trout. And it was really fun to kind of see that, the muscle memory kick back in. He was figuring that cast out like it was riding a bicycle, and really, really rewarding experience to get out on the water with him after many years of trying and trying to make it happen. So that's really kind of where it happened for me. I learned to fish here in the driftlets, and if your listeners aren't too familiar, this part of the country is nothing but spring-fed trout creeks and streams, and it's just beautiful rolling farm country. And so it's been a lot of fun to explore that in this part of the state, and really have it be kind of the cornerstone of my my fly fishing experience.
Yeah, dude, that whole part of the country is just beautiful. I had a buddy that's from up there, and he tells me stories about it constantly.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. It has some really interesting geologic history. The long and short of it is that this part of the upper Midwest was not flattened by glaciers during the last ice age. It goes all the way back to that point in history. And so what that meant was all the bedrock basically stayed intact, and all these spring creeks were allowed to sort of persist. And so it's really evolved into this incredible trout fishery. There is a ton of public access. It's really easy to get on some really awesome trout water, and it's everywhere, right? I'm within driving distance of probably a dozen streams that, within 15, 20 minutes of our place down here.
That's awesome.
But it's something like, 13, I want to say, I forget the actual number of miles, but it's many lifetimes worth of water to be explored. So there's never a shortage of a new adventure or a new access point for us out here. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I wish it was kind of like that up here, where it's like I could just walk out my back door and be at the stream in 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was certainly one of the reasons that drove us to make a move from the Twin Cities out to this part of Wisconsin, for sure, is having all of that access and all that water. But Wisconsin itself is also very fortunate to have quite a bit of easement access, where private landowners have granted anglers basically right of way to cross through some public or some private land rather to get to these streams. So it's an access point at every bridge. It's all these easement put-ins. It's a lot of habitat work that's been done out here. So it's a really special place. It's kind of a sleeper in the bigger fly fishing world. If you're not from up here, if you don't know of someone who's from up here, not a whole lot of folks know that this exists, and that's I like sharing that with people because it's a really cool opportunity that kind of carves out its very own specific fly fishing community.
Yeah, dude, that's kind of like a beautiful thing too, because it's like how many people can say like their home fishery is kind of like slept on, and not many people know about it these days.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely getting more pressure, but I mean, like I said, there's just so much water out here that I'll see some cars at pull-offs now and then, and certainly in the busy part of the summer, it's I see more anglers out on the water, but if you're willing to do a little digging, you can almost always find a spot that you'll have to yourself. And so that's really cool too.
Heck yeah. Dude, let's speak a little bit about Trout Routes and like its function for the people. Talk about it a little bit for the people that haven't heard about the app.
Yeah, absolutely. So Trout Routes was really kind of born out of this driftless environment. The founder was looking for better resources and better ways to combine a lot of public information that is out there, but it's kind of hard to track down sometimes. And so the real sort of initial project was to build something that could pull in some mapping resources to show you where these rivers and streams are, but then also overlay that with things like public access or designated fishing access points, while also pulling in some really cool info from like Wisconsin DNR, Minnesota DNR, and Trout Unlimited as well, where we were able to map out restoration and habitat project sites. And that's really where it started. And after the first maybe year or so of running things solo, our founder took that tool to a couple of fly shows here in the upper Midwest, and it was an instant hit. And in fact, so much so that people were saying, this is exactly what I've been looking for this area, but I would love the same functionality for Colorado or Montana or Pennsylvania or Michigan or whatever. So it very quickly started to snowball. And about that point was when I joined the team, along with kind of the other core developers and other marketing folks, where we then took the product national. And so really what Trout Routes is doing is helping anglers find access points, to understand where trout rivers are across the country, but then also be able to navigate that water. So you have data layers like public land parcels, you have information coming in from USGS to see real-time stream flows, tons of points of interest when it comes to things like parking, boat launches, campsites, a lot of really rich detail about some of those other kinds of information that you might be looking for, where you no longer have to have, a dozen tabs open on your screen and clicking through between like the state resources and the, Google Maps or another mapping platform. It's all really a cohesive product to help people understand, some of that access, but then also make sense of all that information that is out there that can sometimes be a little bit challenging to wrap your head around.
Yeah, dude, I think that, like what you're saying about there, like all the overlays and stuff like that, my favorite one is fly shop stuff. Like I love how when you click on something and it lists like the fly shops that are around there, it's like if I break a tip and I want to go straight to a shop and start the what's it called? I'm drawing a blank.
Like the warranty, kick off that warranty process.
Yeah, kick off the warranty process ASAP, because I'm so mad that I just did it. I can go right down to say 843 flies or 828 flies in Seven Devils. 843 is the Charleston shop, but I could go up there and hand them say my Reddington, and just be like, hey, can you help me start this process? And they'll help you do it. I've actually done that before. Nice. And I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, I just want to have some help. They helped me out. It was a classic trout 3-weight that I absolutely love.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I have one of those rods too. It's the 6-piece kind of travel setup.
Yeah. Yep.
Totally. Yep. 100%. Yeah. That's a good call out too. I mean, it's not just access. It's also, things like fly shop resources. It's things like, satellite imagery. It's all kinds of resources to help folks out. I mean, and the fly shop layer, I think it's great too, because, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a trout angler that, once they figure out where they're going, doesn't either stop in or make a quick phone call to whatever the nearest shop is and ask them a little bit about what's going on. What are the conditions like? Should I pack my streamer rod, or should I, plan to fish nymphs? Like what's going on? So the more that we're able to connect our audience with those experts in the field, I think really helps elevate everybody. So yeah, it's a ton of info, but it's really all about helping people out, make the most of your limited time that you might have on the water.
Oh yeah, dude. I actually did that 2 weeks ago, dude. Me and my buddy Evan went and dude, I got dang the flu that day. And we were out, it was cold, windy, and if you went up like into the high country, like around Asheville, Boone or anything, it's gonna be blowing like 30 miles an hour and be negative 15. Yeah. And I was like, all right, we're going to stay on this lower elevation stuff, and we'll go to the Reddy's River. We got down there, and it was just desolate, horrible. So I called over to, like, the closest fly shop, and I was like, man, like, I need like a clue or something, or like
Mhm.
somewhere else to go that's close.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, please. Called up there, and they're like, yeah, go. They're like, it is horrible over there right now. I don't know why you picked to go there, but
Yeah.
they're like, go and check out this stretch of stream. And we went over there, and it looked a lot better. But by the time I got there, I was starting to like fully feel the flu, and I was getting like cold and
Yeah.
sore. I was like, you
Yeah,
know what,
totally.
I'll fish the day out, and then I'm gonna get back to the house and just hit the sheets.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. It's that weird kind of shoulder season for everybody where winter out west right now is kind of off. There's not a whole lot of snow, but fishing can be kind of good. We're getting hit with a real deep cold snap in the upper Midwest, so that's keeping me off the water for the next week at least. It's there are so many opportunities, and it doesn't, what we're all hoping to do as well is open people's minds to some of those new experiences, or maybe even just helping people recognize that the spots that you fish all the time are great, but did you know that there's other water like
Yeah.
on the other side of the ridge? Like you might not even have known that. And so helping people kind of branch out and find some new water like that is exactly what we're after.
And dude, like that's something that like personally helps me out with the app too. Is like I can go on there, and it's like even if I'm in the middle of Guam and I have no service, my phone saying SOS, I
Yeah.
can look down and be like, you know what, there is a different stretch than what's right in front of me, and it like
Mm-hmm.
it really kind of opens up my mind and is like, you know what, I'm not gonna sit here and throw a hopper dropper all day and beat these fish to death. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
up and maybe I'll throw a streamer at fish
Yeah.
in a deep pool up the
Totally.
road.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when you zoom out a little bit and you have a chance to kind of see all the trout water that exists across the country, like it's a staggering amount.
Oh yeah.
And it can be real overwhelming at times, but I think that's definitely one of the things that we've heard from a lot of folks is just like being kind of surprised at how much other access there is, even if it's in your home state. You might have fished the same spot or the same area for years, decades even, and had no idea that like you've got some opportunity that you've never explored before. So that's also very, very top of mind for us is helping to spread some of that angling pressure out beyond the dozen or so well-known bridges or access points, and encouraging people to kind of take that next leap and try something new and stretch your technique or your experience a little bit, and hopefully like you'll start to add new favorite spots to your list. So
Yeah.
now you've got all kinds of things all over the place that you can explore. Like you're saying, if you happen to go to that favorite spot and it's blown out or it's way too windy, like hop the ridge and check out what's going on the
Yeah.
other side of the valley, and give that fishing a try.
Yeah, so what kind of led you to working for Trout Routes and OnX, I should say?
Yeah, absolutely. I had actually been sort of in the midst of a bit of a career shift, and I was in a drift boat with some buddies on the Upper Mississippi, fishing for smallmouth of all things, and
Lacrosse?
kind of north of the Twin Cities.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and one of the guys in the boat was like, "Hey, I'm doing some work for this company. I think you should check them out. We're actually thinking about opening up this position. I think you'd be a good fit for it." So they got me connected with the founder, and we really hit it off. And it was, I mean, timing couldn't have been perfect. It was like the moment that he was building his first team, and it was real luck, kind of luck of the draw. I wasn't expecting to jump into the industry as much as I ended up getting into it, but it was a passion of mine, and it seemed like a really great opportunity. And so I kind of just went for it, jumped in with both feet, and it's been kind of a wild 4.5 years since. As far as, when OnX enters the picture, we were acquired by OnX in March of 2024. And we also then had the great fortune to be brought over as an entire team, and all were able to kind of continue our career paths just under a different banner. And that's been fantastic. I mean, OnX has been kind of the stalwart of, powerful mapping tech for decades. Most of your listeners probably are well versed in OnX Hunt, but they've got tools to help people for hunting and as well as for off-roading, backcountry, hiking and mountain biking. And then more recently, in the last year or so, have launched a separate OnX fish tool, which is really dedicated to kind of still water, more conventional
Yeah.
tackle kinds of problems. So where Trout Routes fits in is, we continue to really dig our heels into that moving cold water and exist, separately from some of those other tools, but then get to build off of the tools that OnX has been perfecting over the last several years. So, even in the last couple of months or in the last year, even we're now pulling in OnX map public land data. So elevating our data sets to that degree has been really fantastic, as well as just having a number of really, really strong teams that we can tap into to help solve some of the problems that we're encountering. So it's been a really exciting kind of shift from both that smaller startup mentality into fitting into a larger organization, but still having lots and lots of support and those extra resources as well.
Yeah, dude, OnX, I mean, when I lived in Florida, the Hunt app, I lived on that app because I'm used to hunting like
Totally.
little, like big, white oak forests out here,
Mm-hmm.
throwing a
Yeah.
climber up in a tree, like, and just climbing
Yeah.
up, sitting, throwing my bow on there. Dude, Florida
Yeah.
was so completely different. Like, I was sitting there, I'm like, dude, like, what is a palm hammock? What's all this stuff? And
Yeah.
I'd literally sit there at night, like, when I couldn't sleep, and I'd just go to WMA in the middle of Florida
Mm-hmm.
and just start
Yep.
scrolling and just mark
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's cool. I'll still use it to this day a lot, even for like fishing advantage stuff too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's been the tool, I think, at the top of the pack for a long, long time. And those guys have a really dial-up program. And it's been fun for us to start to leverage some of that experience, because now we're able to tap into, like I said, some of those really, really well curated data sets and those teams that are managing, some of those other resources for us. And I'm really excited about this year. We've got a lot of things in the works that are coming out shortly. We recently did a big revamp of what we call the stream card. So in Trout Routes, you can tap on any of those rivers and it'll show you a lot of detail. You already mentioned it'll pull up those nearest fly shops for you, but it'll show you some information about elevation. You can toggle and understand where the access and boat launches are.
Yeah.
Much more easily than if you just had to, scroll around the larger map. So it's that kind of functionality that we're tapping into, which is making us more powerful and hopefully streamlining a lot of that data for our anglers, so that you don't need to go, between, like I said, a number of different websites or other, different apps for all this stuff. It's all consolidated into a single platform to help you make sense of it in the exact same way that, Hunt is pulling in those data layers to help you get a sense of the terrain. We're doing the same kind of thing for trout water.
Dude, that's awesome. I've already kind of like seen it. How do like when I've had, I mean, trout routes for years, and seeing like the progression of it all going through is like super impressive. Like
Thanks,
super
man.
impressive.
I appreciate you sticking with us. There were some moments there kind of early on where we were like, are we headed in the right direction? This is a lot to manage, but I'm really proud of the team that we have, that we started with, as well as the team that we have now. And I think, things just continue to get better. And that's one of the benefits too, right? Is that you don't need to go back and track down those data sets so that you're seeing, the new website or the new release. It's all coming in automatically. So as we're making those updates and as we're finding new data, it's being dropped in real time for you all as well. So you're able to see that progress, as it's being pushed out on our end, which is really great as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. What's been your favorite features from on Trout Routes?
Oh yeah, man, that's a great question. I really like to play around with our 3D map mode,
Yes.
mostly because I spend a lot of time talking to folks all over the country, and I maybe have not had the chance to like visit or fish in those areas. So when I'm connecting with some of those folks, I like to see like what their fisheries are like, and one of the easiest ways to do that is throw it up on a big monitor and turn 3D map mode on, and you can kind of like fly yourself through these valleys and get a sense of what that terrain looks like. That's always a lot of fun. I also really take advantage of calculating river miles, and this is kind of a slightly more hidden feature, but we make it really easy for you to tap on any 2 points on those waters to get a very accurate sense of distance. So it's not just between access points. You could tap on an access point and then tap, what you think might be a half mile up or downstream, and it'll show you exactly what those distances are. So it's really powerful, especially when I'm planning out some new fishing, or when I'm planning out a trip where I've never been before, and I want to understand. Okay, I've got a half day. I know I don't want to go more than 2 miles. How far can I go up or downstream? And if I enter the water here, so it's really easy to understand kind of some of that distance and what some of my capabilities might be, for the time that I have on the water.
Yeah, dude, that's another one that I like too, is the miles, man. Like using where you can like drop a dot and then another dot and it shows you. Dude, that has saved me so many times, dude.
Man, I'm right there with you. Sometimes I get real ambitious if I'm in the truck and I'm still making my way to the water. I'm going, oh man, I can get all the way up here, and then I do a quick double check, and I gotta check myself and say, oh, maybe I shouldn't try to go all the way to that bend, or that's going to be a whole day of hiking if I'm not too careful. So
I did that. Dude, there was one day I went out to shoot, I forget what river it was, but it was in Hendersonville. It might have been the Mills River. It was the Mill River. That's where it was.
Okay.
And I'd been on Trout Routes, and I zoomed in. I was like, all right, I'm gonna hike back into this native stream where there is like native trout up there. And I was like, I'm just gonna park at this like Cradle of Forestry place. And I get through the guard shack at the Cradle of Forestry place, and I'm like, hey, like, am I allowed to park here to go fishing back on this native stream? And the dude looked at me like I had 10 heads. He's like, fishing, like parking here? And I was like, yeah. I was like, it's pretty close, isn't it? And he's like, I mean, you can park over there. So I went parked in the parking lot I was going to park at, and I did that function. And I was like, oh my gosh. I pulled back out there. I was like, man, I'm going to go try and find another place. Yeah. I'm not walking 15 miles into the woods here.
Yep.
I was like in waders in the middle of like summer. Because it's like I was wader fishing a lot during the summer because like the hurricane that came through, and it's like I don't know what washed down that river. So just to be safe, I was wearing waders. I'm like, man, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that in waders. I was like, I'm gonna be sweating bullets by the time I get in there.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome, man.
But yeah, dude, it helped me out there. Another time,
I think. What were you saying? I was gonna call out some of the other features that I'm using a lot lately. Again, so we're, like I said, we're kind of in that shoulder season. Weather's not great. Fishing opportunities are kind of few and far between, at least for us in the upper Midwest right now. But we are starting to kick off our fly fishing show travel and expo circuit. So we're going to be on the road quite a bit over the next several weeks. And so I'm trying to find some opportunities to maybe attach on an extra day here and there if I can, and still get out on some water. So something else that I'm really taking advantage of, and this will be true if you're familiar with OnX Hunt. But once I find some water that I think looks pretty good, and it's within a decent driving distance of where I might be staying, I just start loading up my account with a bunch of pins. So I'll drop markers and I'll take some quick notes. I might even like look at something at a high level and think this actually might be a good streamer section. So maybe I want to remember that before I head out. So like change those icons to something specific, change the color so I know what I'm thinking. So that way when I get out there, I don't have to backtrack and like try to and remember or recall all of that stuff on my own. I've got it right in front of me, and I could just pull up those pins and I can say, oh yeah, that's right. When I got to this access point, one of the first things I wanted to do was, hike past this section and fish here first, and then work my way back, back to the truck. So that would be another big one that I'm taking a lot of advantage of right now, is just we're in kind of that e-scouting mode. I'm dreaming big for maybe some summer trips. And so I don't want to let all that work go to waste. So as I'm kind of going through some of these new regions, I'm making sure that I'm dropping some of those markers and taking some notes about what I want to do when I get out there. Just to kind of give me another frame of reference and add a little extra confidence that I've already kind of put in that work, and I want it, I wanted to pay off when I actually get out there. So I don't want to lose track of it. So that's another big one.
Dude, yeah, that one. I like how I fish a lot of the South Carolina rivers for like smallmouth and stuff like that, where you can wade out
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
do
totally.
the USGS, where like there's a USGS weather station, and it gives all the data from that USGS weather station, where it's like the flow of the river and all that stuff. That has been unbelievable too. I love how you
Yeah.
guys did that, where it's like I had been waking up in the morning sometimes, and I've been like, all right, I want to see what the river's doing down there currently, and
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah, you know
Absolutely.
what, sleeping in.
Right. Yeah. Um, That's another really good one too. I usually start to call that info up as I get a little bit closer to actually getting on some of that water. But again, another really powerful way of incorporating some pretty disparate data sets into a single platform. So I don't have to go to the USGS website. I don't have to remember like the name of the gauge. It's going to show up right on the map for me. So if I
Yeah,
tap on it, it'll recall all that historic data, so I can see what those trends might look like over the last week or two. But then, even before I head out, like if I've got a couple of different directions that I'm thinking of heading, pull up that gauge info and see like, did it rain over here last night, or is this more likely to be blown out than this section, and help kind of make some of those calls before you start heading off in the wrong direction first, right? And
yeah.
just feel more confident about what all of the e-scouting that I did ahead of time, that it'll actually pay off when I get out there.
And I made that mistake one time of just like showing up and not checking it on there. Like I had looked and dropped pins on places where I was gonna
Yeah.
go, and I was like, dang man, I was already like halfway there. I was like, I didn't even check the USGS gauge. And I got there, it was flowing so fast and it was just
Hmm.
straight red. And I was
Yep.
like, should have
Yep.
checked. I should
Yep.
have checked.
Yeah. What's kind of neat too is you can obviously pull up those graphs and recall that previous data, but we also throw some things in there that'll tell you, like, based on what we know from this gauge right now, this water is rising. And
Yeah.
it'll probably be rising for a while, or it's actually coming down, and might give me a bit more insight about like what patterns I want to bring with me, or what kind of techniques I want to use. So helping you kind of work through all of that information is also a big part of what we're doing. It's not just adding more layers, because at the end of the day, then you just got a big sandwich of data that's kind of clouding your map view. So what are some other things that we can do with that information to help you make sense of it as an angler that are going to be really effective, especially as you're planning out your time on the water?
Yeah, dude, that like you're saying there too. It's like what was cool is it showed the history of like how it was
Hmm.
flowing like that before. It's like it should be cresting by 11, and it's like 8 a.m. and
Hmm.
it's like
Yep.
shoot. It's like I'm gonna go get some breakfast and
Yep. Yep.
hit up the
No need
Chick-fil-A.
to no need to rush out the door. Like, let's just take our time getting out
Yeah.
there, and we'll have better water when we get there anyway.
Yeah,
Exactly.
dude. And sure enough, it started going down quick at like 11.
Yep.
And then by like 1 o'clock, it was so far
Perfect.
down that I could wade out there. And I was like, dude,
Yeah.
thank God. Like,
Nice.
it's awesome. Dude, like, and
Yeah.
that's something that I check every time I go to like a bigger river to like smallmouth fish or striper fish
Hmm.
now.
And it's interesting because like this information does exist out in the world. Like, you can track all this stuff down on your own if you wanted to, but it not only can it be a little bit cumbersome, and sometimes you got to, like I said, remember the name of the gauge if you want to find it easily on like the USGS website. And so really at the end of the day, it's about helping, kind of not only make sense of that info, but consolidating it into a platform that allows you to recall the things that you're looking for right away, and work, like weed through all the other information that's not necessary or not going to be helpful for that
Yeah.
particular trip, right?
Yeah. And that is
Yeah.
something cool because like before I even like would go like when say I was a sophomore in college and I'd come home and I'd fly fish. I didn't have trout routes, and I had like 18, 20 big like you're saying earlier tabs on my laptop,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
the thing's running slow and feels like it's about to explode.
Totally.
Like, gotta consolidate somehow so this thing
Yeah.
doesn't catch on fire in my lap right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, 100%. And what's cool too, I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm no stranger to having just like 15, 20 tabs open at all times, just trying to keep an eye on things. But one of the things you can do now right in the app too is you can kind of curate your list of favorite gauges. You can do this for any marker, honestly, but I find it to be most helpful for stream gauges, because then you can sort of curate your own, catalog of favorite rivers or favorite access points or favorite areas. So you can still access that stuff the same way that you might be used to, but no longer do you have to have all those tabs open and running in the background and just clogging things up. But now you've got it right at hand, and you can just quickly scroll through and find the ones you're looking for and go from there. Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh yeah. What's been the time where like you finally got out of like off the water and out of there, and you're like, thank God I had Trout Routes, or I would not have gotten through that.
Oh man, we were fishing out west 2 summers ago, and it was access for us here in the upper Midwest is pretty straightforward. Most of those access points are almost within 100 yards of the water itself. So it's like pull the car up and you're in the water in a couple minutes. It as long as it takes you to get kitted out, like that's what it takes. But we were trying to get into some backwater out west, and it was a fire road in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have any service. Like, we were looking on the map and kind of navigating ahead of time and thinking, all right, this will probably be like a 15-minute drive, and 15 minutes turns into 20, turns into half an hour, and we're like, I don't know if this is actually going to get us to the water. And so we eventually did find the pull off, and you peer down the cliffside, and there's kind of a trail down there, and like, okay, I think we can at least get to the water. But what was super helpful for us in the moment was we had all that info downloaded offline. So we were well outside of cell coverage. Other mapping, like navigating map tools, weren't going to help us out. We couldn't connect to anything, but we had the base maps loaded. So we knew where we were with our GPS coordinate and signal on our phones. So we could still use the data to help us get down to the water. And then once we were in there, we knew like how far up or downstream we could safely wade and things like that. And, if we hadn't had that ahead of time, we would have bailed for sure. Like, we would have driven back to the highway and just found a bridge that was easier to access. But I'm glad that we stuck with it. And, it ended up being a great time. We were in just absolutely beautiful backcountry, amazing, mountainous landscapes in the background, big water. It was really, really amazing. But if we hadn't put in a little bit of legwork and remembered to grab all that stuff offline ahead of time, we would have been stuck.
Dude, there's nothing like fishing those fire roads, and then like we have the what's it called, the Forest Service roads up here.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, that's what, if I know my pull off is off a Forest Service road, I have to download the base map, because I'm like, dude, I know if I see FSR and like a long number, I'm like, all right, I gotta download the base map. It's like, absolutely. I know I'm gonna get lost up here.
Yeah, 100%. It's like it can be real intimidating, but it's sometimes just taking that extra little step can be the make or break of that day. And what we're hoping to do is make that easy, right? Like it's capturing everything that you're any custom markers you're dropping in there, any data layers you've got loaded, all that's going to travel with you, so you can know that you're at least grabbing the info you need to help you navigate when you're out there. So it's really powerful.
Yeah, dude, I had another one. This is a crazy story. I might have already told you, but I was in South Mountain State Park up here, and I was going before work, and I knew I should not have been fishing before work. I was like, you know what? I had like an itch I wanted to scratch. I was I want to go, and I just want to go and fish for like 4 hours before work. Wake up at like 5:30, get out there at 6 when the sun's coming up, and just go into work. So I wake up, and somebody had siphoned gas out of my truck and left me with like just barely
with fumes. Oh, man.
Just barely enough to get up there. It was like 96 miles. I had to get up there. It was like an hour drive from me, and then it was 45 minutes back to work. So I'm like, all right, dude, this works perfect. Like, I can just get gas on the way back to work. And I was like, thank God he didn't like completely siphon me dry.
Yeah.
So I get up there and I pull in, check my gas gauge. It's at 50 miles. I was like, all right, that can get me to the nearest gas station. Thought about thought about filling back up, going through town up there, and I didn't. I was like, I just want to get up there. I want to fish. So me being brilliant parks on a spot in the parking lot that is at an angle. And
amazing.
I'm not thinking. And it's like, all right, I got 50 miles. I was like, I'll get out. Like, I got to be at work at like noontime. I was like, I'll get out at 11. I'll be back down at like 11:45.
Totally.
I'm in, perfect. Work the day and go home after, all is well. So that went sideways so quick. I end up getting out at like 10:45 to like, break down my rod, take my waders off, put them in my wader tote, and throw on my work clothes so I didn't have to run in like in waders.
Mm-hmm.
Get all of it broken down and put in the truck. I go to crank over the truck. I'm like,
Nothing.
Oh no. I was like, no way. So I get on Trout Route. I got 1 bar of LTE, and it's just enough to get me into like Trout Routes and get on a map so like I can see where there's a ranger station and figure out like where I can go. Thank God I find a ranger station on the map, like maybe a 10-minute walk. So I walk down and I knock on that ranger station door. Nobody there. Knock on it again.
Of course not.
Nobody there. So finally, a truck pulls up. And they're like, hey, is there something wrong? I was like, yeah, I need to use your phone ASAP. And I was like, and do you by any chance have gas? I was like, I will pay you for all of the gas that goes into that truck.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, are you out of gas? I was like, yeah, I'm still in my waders at this point. And so it's like, yeah, I'm up here at the parking lot at the native water section, or the wild water section of the Jacob Fork over here. And they're like, oh, yeah, let me bring a gas can. I was like, all right, sweet. So I'm sitting there. I don't have a funnel that goes in because I had an F-150, and you know how those older F-150s have the guard that can't get a funnel in there?
Yeah.
So no idea how a dude managed to siphon gas out of my car doing that. But he had one of those things that you stick down in there, and it's a long thing, and it's got like a little ball in it. Comes out like that. So finally I get some gas in the car. Doesn't kick over. And I'm like, oh my gosh. They're like, we don't have any more gas, but there's somebody coming up to the other one. And I was like, all right. I was like, I got to get up to the other one. And it's like, apparently they have like a legit gas thing that you can put in. It's got a handle and you can crank it in.
Right. Yeah.
And I tell them, I'm like, I'll pay for all the gas. So I go find the main ranger station on the base maps. I do where I click the dot where I'm at, click it on the main one to see where it goes. It is like a 40-minute walk. Like, oh my gosh. So I look at the lady that helped me out first, and I was like, is there any way that you can tell somebody from the main thing just to throw a thing in the back of the truck and bring it down here? And she was like, yeah, I can do that. So she calls up one of them, and she goes, can you bring a gas tank down here with like a hand crank? And they're like, yeah, we'll be down there in 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I was like, I might as well just walk up there at this point. But I ended up waiting. I was like, I'm not walking 45 minutes in a pair of waders. So finally they end up getting down there. But before they got down there, I had to call my girlfriend. I had to call work, and I called work. I'm like, hey, I was like, I'm going to be a little later than noontime, but I will be there, and I'll work my full shift and more. And they're like, why? What happened? I was like, my truck is out of gas in the middle of South Mountain State Park.
Nowhere.
Yeah,
totally.
No service. Couldn't call really anybody on my phone. Had to call my girlfriend. I was like, hey, my truck's out of gas. She's like, well, I'm at work. I was like, oh shit. And she's like, just call me when you get into service, because she's like, I called her one time, it rang and she didn't answer, and then she was like, that's a call from the North Carolina Forest Service. She's like, that's either my uncle or my boyfriend is dead in the middle of South Mountain State Park. Because her uncle does work for the Forest Service.
Yeah.
So she answered, and I was like, hey, my truck's out of gas out here. But at the end of the day, I would not have been able to get out of that situation if it wasn't for Trout Routes.
Oh man. Well, I'm sorry to hear about the gas situation, but I'm glad we were able to at least connect you with the right people that were on the ground to help you out, man. That's awesome.
But that was the one where I was like, if I didn't have it, I probably still wouldn't be here to this day. I would have been attacked by a bear or something. But,
yeah. I mean, we've heard similar stories from other folks too, where, you know, sometimes it'll just be helping them navigate when they're, you know, deep in the backcountry, hiking into some blue lines or something like that. But we had one other guy who was planning to meet some buddies for a long, kind of extended car camping, like overland trip, and he ended up getting a late start, and so he wasn't out into the woods until well after dark. And he realized, like, I don't know if I told these guys this campsite or the one that's quite a ways off. Luckily, he happened to have downloaded that area to his phone like 2 years prior. Like, he had done a similar trip. He was using Trout Routes to get out there, so he actually had some of that area downloaded, and he was able to pull it up. You know, like you're saying, he was completely out of service, wasn't able to call anybody, but was at least able to know, like, he was on the right path, and he could see where those campsites were that he was headed towards. So he goes, all right, I'm at least on the right road. I'm going to drive past them both. So if they're there, I'll see them. And sure enough, like, the first one he pulls up into, he sees, you know, a big bonfire going, recognizes his buddy's truck, and goes, all right, we made it. You know, we're going to get this trip off on the right foot. But for a minute there, it was like either he bails and isn't able to contact these guys until the next morning, you know, probably putting them into a panic, or calls up the offline maps and is able to track some stuff down. And lucky enough, he, you know, like I said, had some things pre-saved and was able to get out of the jam. But it could have been a tough night for all involved otherwise.
Dude, that one. And like, now another feature I use too is like where you can drop the pin and take the latitude and longitude units, and I'll send it to my girlfriend because she's like, you've had way too many like close calls up in the mountains. She's like, before you go, send me where you're going and then like a latitude and longitude line.
Yep, exactly.
So that's what I do now.
Nice.
But
awesome.
Do y'all have any cool or crazy stuff coming in 2026 that you can share?
Yeah, I'll put a couple bugs out there for folks that are interested in checking some cool stuff out. We actually just launched this as kind of a pilot program, but we are working on incorporating some river report content from some guides and shops across the country. It's pretty limited for now. It's only on a handful of rivers, but if you wanted to kind of see the pilot project, you could call up, you know, like the Yellowstone River or the Madison or the Gallatin out in Montana, and get a glimpse of what we're working on. But we're actually working with some guides and shops to provide some of that real-time video content for anglers, so they can get a sense of what some current conditions are like, and then hear, you know, some fly suggestions, maybe some presentation tips, kind of depending on what's going on, you know, in the moment. But I'm really excited about that. That was kind of a new function for us to be able to figure out on the development side how we can incorporate some of that video content. But then also a lot of fun on my end, working with all these partners just to find some ways to elevate, you know, the work that they're already doing and give them a bit more of a platform to connect with some new anglers. So that hit just about a month and a half ago. And like I said, it's a small sort of subset of rivers that we've had that on, but check out some of those bigger waters out west. You'll be able to see what that looks like, and I'm hoping that we can continue to expand that out across the country this year, to help people get some more of that real-time coverage. And in the same way that we are really intentional about connecting folks with nearest fly shops, we want to be providing that true vetted content where it's coming from real sources, from guides who are on the water, you know, way more than I am able to be throughout the season, instead of, you know, simply, you know, plugging in some kind of AI tool that would give you some mediocre result that may or may not actually be true for that time of the year. So that's number one. And that is, like I said, it's live for a couple of rivers, but I'd encourage your audience to check that out. And then we're also starting to incorporate some really powerful species level data that
cool.
I'm excited to release. That should be hitting here in the next couple of weeks. So keep your eyes peeled for some of that. But what that's going to allow us to do is really hone in on very specific sections of water to show you what species you can expect. And if you're interested in targeting something like, I only want to see streams that will have, native brook trout, like turn that toggle on and you'll be able to see what's nearby that would have some of those species. Or if you wanted to, like do a cutthroat slam or something like that out west, like toggle those species on, you'll be able to see the waterways that we expect to see those fish living. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well. So those would be the kind of the two big ones that I'd call out to keep an eye out for. But then, beyond that, we're kind of on the cusp of being able to tap into some of those additional OnX resources, and taking some of the tools that they've built for other projects and incorporate them into Trout Routes. So if you are relatively new to the app, take a look at some of the ways that we're organizing things like access points or, shortly species information, things like that. And we'll continue to be improving upon some of that stuff. So just, real quick, like if you tapped on a river now, you'll be able to see, and if you were really interested in only seeing like boat launches, because I want to float something nearby, you can now sort of sift through and see exactly where those access points are going to be in relationship to each other, as well as where you've tapped on that water. So again, it's really all about taking a lot of the data that we have and finding better ways to quickly sort through it and make the most sense of it for you as an angler without having to do all that legwork of like mapping out distance yourself, like dropping pins on all these places. It's all going to be right there front and center to help you like get a really good sense of the water and help you plan out some of those days on the water as well.
Dude, that's awesome. What guides did you use up there at the Madison? I had a buddy that is a guide for Madison Fishing Company.
Oh, okay. We've been working with Mike Pagoda, who is with Rising Trout Outfitters, and you've
Mike's
probably seen some of his some of his content on social. He does a fantastic job, really on all fronts. He's an amazing guide. He's been out there for many, many years, and so that would be what you'd find right now in the Madison. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun to work with him. I'm actually going to be connecting with him shortly here as we again head to some of these shows over the next few weeks. But I was really happy to partner with him on kind of this first launch, and he did a fantastic job. And it's great too, because it's the kind of content and kind of information that you're calling a fly shop for, or you really can't get unless you know someone on the ground. So it was really exciting to be able to tap into his expertise and have him provide some of that insight for us. Yeah. So it's a really, really, really great guy. And it's a cool project that, like I said, I'm hoping to expand here as we get into the new year.
Yeah, dude, he's so good at social media and stuff like that too, that it's like, that's a perfect dude to do something like that.
Yeah, he's really got that figured out, and it's he's already out on the water and he's, experiencing these places on a very regular basis. So it's an easy integration for both of us. He's great. It's been a lot of fun to work with him.
Oh yeah. But you pretty much answered the next question already. Cause the whole thing, navigation with like Apple Maps, like say you want to get out, you put in your address and like you're somewhere where there's no service. Do you guys have like anything kind of out there, like if Apple Maps is down and you're like, I can't get out of here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I know the folks on the OnX off-road team do some really cool things when it comes to navigation. And while we don't have that functionality just yet, I think there are certainly some paths for us down that road to potentially bring in some of that navigation right in the app itself. It ends up being a little tricky, right? Because like a lot of the trout water that you're accessing, it's on foot and there really aren't roads to get you there.
Yeah.
But for the moment, we do make it really easy to plug into, Google or Apple Maps to pull information from the app and get really quick directions using some of those other tools if you're really sticking to main roads. But yeah, I'm excited to continue to explore that a little bit. It's we do have some functionality in CarPlay right now, which is super fun.
Yeah, that is cool.
it's a little limited at the moment, but it's just really great to be able to pull up that base map and as you're driving through an area, see where all the trout streams are, flowing underneath the bridges and stuff. And what I find it does for me is it makes me slow down a little bit less frequently as I'm crossing these bridges. I already know it's a trout stream, and it's nice to be able to see that, right at hand on the car dashboard. But so I would expect we have some improvements coming down the pipeline on that front as well.
That's cool.
So definitely keep an eye out for some of that stuff.
Dude, it's funny. Like, I think I was in the car with my girlfriend a few weeks ago, and I opened up Apple CarPlay, and it was on there. She's like, "What are all those lines and stuff like that? Is that traffic?" I was like, "No, those are trout streams." She's like, "How the hell
exactly.
She's like, "How'd you manage that?" I was like,
it's really cool. I think as trout anglers, we're all totally guilty of that, of like slowing down as we approach a bridge and like trying to peek over the barrier. See, is it clear? Do I see any fish rising? That sort of thing. And this hopefully smooths that process out just a little bit.
Dude, so that's about all I got for you for the questions. But my last one that I always ask is, so I have a running playlist on Spotify for it's called the Trout Tunes Season 1. I'm just gonna change it to the Trout
Trademark
Tunes.
It.
I'm just gonna change it to Trout Tunes because I'm not switching from Season 1. But so I'll give 5 songs and you give 5 songs.
All right. I'm going to give you kind of a weird mashup because I've got a couple of young boys at home. And so my Spotify algorithm is just all over the board. We listen to soundtracks. We listen to old country. We listen to pop songs, like pretty much everything and anything in between. And nothing's really off limits. So I'll throw a couple out to you and take them with the grains of salt. You don't have to add them all if you don't want to, but some of the things that we've been listening to like pretty regularly lately, I'll throw a couple of those out for you. One of them that's on my pretty typical like driving out to the stream playlist is a cover of Strange Overtones by a band called Whitney. Obviously a very well-known pop song, but covered by this band that I really like. So that's one of them. We listen to a fair amount of Big Wild, if you know that band. So I'll throw Joy Punks on the list from those guys.
Okay.
There's a song called "Oh Devil" by a band called Electric Guest.
Okay.
That's sort of somewhere in between that like old not old, like more millennial like rock and roll with a bit more of that kind of electronic vibe. So that'll be my number 3.
Let's see, what was that one called? Oh Devil?
That one's called Oh Devil by a band called Electric Guest.
Just put it on there.
I gotta throw in a couple of recent hits that my boys get real kicks out of. One of them is Northwest Passage by Stan Rogers. So pivoting real hard from those first 3 songs into some old sort of shanty.
That's pretty sick
vibes.
Though, that your kids are listening to that.
Yeah. We got, like I said, we got nothing really is off limits for these guys. And then the last one I'll throw out, another throwback, and this kind of taps into some of that real old country vibes that we've been digging a lot lately, is El Paso by Marty Robbins.
Great song.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude. That's 5 great songs.
rounding it out with hopefully a bit of a mix up to some of the previous entries into that playlist. We'll put our stamp on it with those 5.
Dude, that lad, dude, those are some good songs. I'm gonna listen to a couple of them that I didn't know. But
those first 3 are kind of sleepers, but I like them a lot, especially that cover of well, what did I say that one was? Strange Overtones. Really, really good cover. So definitely check that one out.
Heck yeah. The ones that I had, my first one, Ripple, the 2013 remaster by the Grateful Dead.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Knives of New Orleans, Eric Church.
Okay.
That's a great song if you haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, I know that one.
That's probably one of my favorite Eric Church songs that like people around here like, why that one? I was like, I just like the beat of it.
Yeah.
I got a name, Jim Croce.
Okay. Totally.
Away from the mire, Billy Strings, classic.
Absolutely.
And
Love
then
some good Billy Strings.
Dude, I love Billy Strings.
Yep.
And then Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac.
Nice.
And then that rounds out mine.
Yeah, I spared you some of the 80s pop that has also been making that playlist. The boys have gotten real into Stranger Things as that show kind of made its wrap. And so we have been on soundtrack kicks of that show pretty hard lately. So, a little bit of Kate Bush, a little bit of Fleetwood Mac. Just all kinds of random stuff hitting the airwaves in the car as we're cruising around. So,
dude, I've been on like a real weird like Olivia Dean. Dude, that new album that she released, fantastic. Honestly, like people are like, nice. I would not like peg you as a dude that listens to Olivia Dean. I'm like, nah, dude, it just sounds good. Great music.
That's all that counts, man. Sometimes it doesn't matter what's making the top 10 or the Billboard 100. It's just like what sounds good and what's doing it for your soul, for sure.
Yeah, so, dude, but that's not ones that like I'm listening on the way to the stream or anything like that. But like riding around town, that is what I'm jamming on.
Nice, man. Well, I'm gonna have to tap into this collective playlist because it sounds like you're getting some pretty good entries, and
dude,
I think that's awesome.
Let's see, it's almost at 600 songs now, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. It's let's see, it is 41 hours. And awesome. It is dang, it won't tell me. I'm pretty sure it's like 595 or something like that.
Awesome.
But
yeah.
Dude, yeah.
Well, I've got some travel coming up, and I'm gonna have a bit of windshield time and a little bit of airport time and stuff like that. So I'm always looking for some new jams to pop on as we're trying to like tick through some of that stuff. So
heck yeah, man. That's all I got for you today, man. You got any last thanks and plugs you want to give to anybody?
Again, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to chat with you this afternoon. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, I love connecting with anglers from all kinds of fishing communities across the country. So it's always cool to hear, your feedback and ways that Trout Routes is helping you get out of a jam. So thanks for sharing that. That's always awesome to hear. If folks are interested, I know that we're going to be helping folks jump on some free trials. So keep an eye out for that link through your channels.
Oh, yeah.
But if you wanted to learn more about us, always head to the website, which is troutroutes.com, or find us on social.
Yeah,
just at Trout Routes. And we're going to be dropping a bunch of stuff coming up as we get into show season and sharing some more about some of these new features coming down the pipeline. So always a great place to tap in. Oh, and before I let you go, one other great resource, if you wanted to deep dive into some of the other things we've been talking about today, look up the Trout Routes YouTube channel, because we've got some really awesome conversations that we've recorded there. Some of them are more feature focused and deep dives on the product, but then also some really fun conversations about, fishing streamers or fishing tailwaters with some other really awesome folks in the industry that we work with. So I would encourage you to check that out as well.
Sweet, man. Well, I will have that link for the free month of Trout Routes Pro in all of my my show notes here. And thank you again for coming on, man. And I'm going to click stop so we can let some tracks upload here.
Alrighty.
Dude, that was awesome. And that was our interview with Mr. Erik Johnsen of Trout Routes. What an awesome app. Like I said, in these show notes, there is a link for you to get a month free of Trout Routes Pro. And super awesome app. It's got me out of a lot of jams, like you heard in the episode. It's got Erik out of a couple jams, as you also heard in the episode. But just some really cool insight, some really cool things coming down the pipeline with OnX, with Trout Routes. So, check it out. Download the app, sign up. Dude, it's like unbelievable. It makes e-scouting and navigating a fishery when you are just out on the water so much easier. But until this will be dropping Friday. It is currently Wednesday. But thank you guys for listening. give it a subscribe on YouTube. Uh, give it a nice little review on Apple Podcasts. Give it a review on Spotify. Wherever you listen to this podcast, give us a review. We always like to hear feedback in this crowd here. But thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. Those in the Southeast, as I am here in Charlotte, North Carolina, stay safe this weekend. We got some weather coming in, and should be fun. Could be catastrophic with all this ice that they're predicting. But if it snows, everybody have fun in it and always be safe. But talk to you guys next week.